Welcome, everybody. My name is Ben Smith. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Abby Duty and Curtis Wister, the Jillian Michaels and Bob Harper to my Jake Steinfeld. Appreciate you guys joining today. How you doing?
Good.
Good. How are you, Ben?
Good. We're going to chat. I know there's a popular kind of phrase that's out in the finance world is health and wealth is something that comes up quite a bit. And we said, hey, we're now pretty deep into our Retirement Success in Maine podcast show. And, we've not talked about health, right? So that's something we have to do. So as we're doing our kind of visualization sessions with a lot of our clients, one of the things we ask our clients is, what is important to you in retirement? Right. And of course the answers vary, right? Is it's sometimes pursuing passions. It's about fulfillment. We had Chris McLaughlin talking about family and people want to spend time with their family a lot. Mm-hmm. So we've spent a lot of shows kind of pursuing the idea of achieving passions. But what if I'm not very healthy, right? As I approach retirement or I'm in retirement.
Yeah.
And if I think forward, I'm now at the fun part of life where I can probably do whatever I want, but maybe I'm scared about how unhealthy I am. And what about this fear that I have that I won't be around to enjoy the most amount of retirement that I possibly could?
Yeah.
So perhaps I'm not in very good physical shape. Maybe I have really bad eating habits that could be improved. So again, a question that we hear sometimes is, what steps can I take to get healthier? So with that premise, we reached out to Wilcox Wellness and Fitness. And they have a couple of locations in the state of Maine, Bangor and Brunswick. And they also received the 2020 Bion and Dorain Foster Award for Entrepreneurship from the Bangor Region Chamber of Commerce. So we said, hey, they're growing. I talked to the guest here a little bit offline to discuss this topic. He's really great. So please join us in welcoming Mike Wilcox of Wilcox Wellness and Fitness. Appreciate you coming on, Mike.
All right, thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat today and hopefully have a little insight for you when it comes to health and taking care of yourself. And obviously, as you grow older, you want to be able to do stuff. So it's really important.
That's right. And I think when you and I have connected a little bit on the side, Mike, it seems like, hey, the people that are walking through your doors that, what we're hearing from our side when we're doing our financial planning sessions is, I think the people that have maybe overcome those fears to even walk through the doors and come talk to you. So I'm interested in that as a thread.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big deal. It's a scary place for people. It's getting vulnerable and doing things you're not used to doing, and just putting yourself out there is very scary for people, and certainly in the health and fitness space.
Well, so what I want to do, Mike, to always start is I think it's always fascinating to hear you as our expert here, kind of your story, right? Is kind of why are you passionate about what you're doing today? So I want to maybe just start at the beginning, kind of talk about your upbringing. Okay. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up right here in Bangor, Maine, where I still live. Where our original business is now. And I've got three brothers. We were very active as kids. So I was into sports, youth sports. I spent a ton of time at the YMCA on Hammond Street. So I've always just been an active person. And I think inside of athletics, I kind of took on the role as a leader, in the different positions I played, whether it was point guard, quarterback, things like that, shortstop or pitcher, catcher. So I've always been in that role of like being a team player and trying to set the team up for success. And I think, that really has spilled over into what I do now is just set people up for success in life, by taking control of your health and doing some little things that make a big impact. So I think that's a quick version of,
nice.
My little stance on that.
Can you just give us a little bit about that path towards training and fitness and wellness coaching with adults? Because of course, is, you could have done anything right with that is, hey, there's a lot of different athletic angles you could take. So when did that start and why did you choose it?
So I definitely thought I'd be working with athletes as a coach. In fact, I went to school originally for physical education at UMaine Orono. I transferred to Farmington where they did not have that option. So I played around with some different things, business and a couple other things, and ended up in community health, which is not a typical major that people have. So it kind of started there. There was just great people at the University of Maine Farmington that kind of led me there. Everybody I came in contact inside of that major was just phenomenal. And so it started there. I started teaching there, teaching my peers, coaching them to strength and conditioning is where I started. But just that difference you can make in someone's life, it really does impact you. And I'm sure it does when you guys are working with people and setting them up in the financial world, but giving that peace of mind that they're in control and they can see gains and they see that confidence build. So it definitely started there with my peers. I did do some coaching and teaching right outside of college, and I enjoyed it very much. However, I had this calling to kind of work with adults, I think. And so I looked into personal training, became a personal trainer, started as an independent contractor, and just kind of grew from there. And it was more of, I would say, a hobby than it was an actual business for the majority of my time as an independent contractor. Luckily, my wife has a business background. She has a master's in business and comes from a family of small business owners. So we kind of really were able to match up very well and take it more seriously and start the business.
Nice. Can you talk a little bit about obviously Bangor, right? You're a true Mainer, right? As you've born and raised here, which is I out people on the show a lot, which maybe is good or bad. But can you talk about, in terms of, there's always feels like maybe the last 25 years, especially, there's this gravity of a brain drain, right? Is kids growing up and there's a pressure, in terms of trying to earn more money or more career aspirations to leave the state. Can you talk about why Maine and what has kind of held you here?
Certainly family. I have pretty strong roots in here. Actually, all three of my brothers live here, about 1 block away from my youngest brother. And then, we're pretty close and we get to meet. I've got 10 nephews and nieces now. Just the community, I've felt a strong connection through, I think, my personal coaches growing up, especially in high school. I had some really great mentors and coaches and people I looked up to. And so I kind of always saw myself coaching within the Bangor community ever since I was in high school. And I actually live in my grandmother's house right now. So we bought her house and here we are. So my parents live on the other end of the road. We're not like so tight knit that I see her every day. However, it's nice that it's not too common that you kind of have that. And it's been interesting. She just turned 61. I'm sure she'll be glad I mentioned that just the other day. So we were able to have the whole family over and have a little barbecue and do our best to keep that social distance thing going.
And Mike, I'll echo that too, because personally, that's kind of been my story too. Is I just love being. My parents are in Kenduskeag. My in-laws are in Bangor. Nice. We can see each other, and they're part of my son's life. And it's very easy for us to just kind of get together, and doesn't have to be a big thing where you're traveling 2 and 3 hours each way to do something. So it's and I know Abby kind of has a similar thing. Actually, her dad AJ is a partner in this business as well. So we kind of have a lot of family threads as this kind of goes through. But I want to kind of rotate, Mike, for you is, so you're doing kind of the independent contractor work, and your wife has got the MBA, the business acumen. So how did that kind of turn into? Pushing. Yes, start your own business, Mike. Let's go. Why are we doing this?
She probably worked on me for 2 or 3 years, and we'd be driving around Bangor in every little spot, whether it was 200 square feet or 6,000 square feet. It was the spot for us to open up this, or for me to open up this business. She was going to, of course, keep her job. And I mean, no. And then I started kind of thinking about it a little more deeply. I was independent contractor for 8 years. I had a great following. It was kind of like my schedule was kind of set. I'm not really going to be going any more this way as far as being able to impact people, as far as making a little bit more money. There wasn't a lot of growth for me inside of that. So it was either we start this business or I kind of choose another profession and go to work for somebody else. It's really kind of where it came down to, I started researching a little bit. I participated in a couple of small studio type facilities, and I was pretty much sold that I could pull it off. And so it was nice to have that experience and see and envision myself inside of that and leading that. And so that kind of really pumped me up. I started researching how to run a business and all that. And so we put in a good year prior to opening up, or prior to even like looking for space, I should say, on what it might look like and all the parameters behind it. And it's a big leap, right? You're kind of,
Sure.
you don't know if anybody's going to come with you.
That's right. And it's always scary, right? Is it the right time, right? It's always this,
exactly.
You don't know if it's the wrong time or right time, and when's the best time to start it, and what happens if things that person doesn't follow you that you thought was going to, because whatever reason. So kudos to you, because small business is obviously tough, and that's something we all had to do in terms of rotate into here was you could be with a larger institution or do this, and so again, hats off, and I love that similar thread. Can you talk about how the business has grown though from that moment, like from 2012, I think was when you started. How did you grow? Well, I started off training people one-on-one, and I had 4,000 square feet. We ended up choosing a much larger space than originally planned. As the vision got a little bit bigger, we were very hopeful that we would be able to use it. And actually, since we've added on 2,000 more square feet, so it did end up working out. So, so it was just me and training people one-on-one with the goal of getting some groups going. We started some boot camps after. We got kind of our feet underneath us. I did a couple months of free boot camps. I think that was a big deal, that people could just come to try it out and see what it was about, see what our approach was. And that was luckily a big hit. And, I don't know, 6 or 7 months later, we were regularly seeing 40 people inside of these boot camps, which I thought, at first was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And it was cool. And we did like 10 session passes or unlimited plans. But the problem was like, I'm a personal trainer and a coach, and I'm used to meeting with people 2 to 3 times per week on a regular basis and really, developing a relationship and knowing the nuances of each person, whether it's an injury or how people learn or what motivates who and all that stuff. And I was missing that piece totally. And I was just like, kind of losing my mind training all these people randomly, because someone would show up like say 4 times 1 week, then they would not see them for 3 weeks, and then they come back. And the final thing that kind of pushed us to where we are today is that I found myself training the people that were not coming very often, because I was so scared that they were going to hurt themselves inside of our facility. So their technique and all that stuff, they were so sporadic, they weren't really catching on to kind of the stuff we were trying to coach them on. And so all the people that were coming on a regular basis, our best customers, if you will, I was not even coaching them, because I was too busy trying not to let people kill themselves by either choosing the wrong weights or just doing silly things, right? And so I finally just kind of got tired of it, and we made a massive decision to get away from 10 session passes, get away from unlimited plans, and go ahead and ask for commitments. So we asked for 3, 6, and 12-month commitments for really, at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, to set clients up for success, right? You're not going to do that great if you're not accountable and showing up for a certain period of time. And so like 3 months, we knew, bare minimum, we could do a lot for somebody in that amount of time. So 3, 6, and 12 months. And then you would commit to 2 or 3, 4 sessions a week. And we did that, and we made some people mad. I was not a popular person amongst our clients who really loved us. But at the end of the day, I had to make that decision to do something I was more passionate about, and I knew we could impact them more nutritionally. We could impact them more on, say, taking care of just your muscle tissues with some, self-massage therapy, and then getting people to just approach fitness at a different level compared to just say burning calories and I got to get a workout, and just take it more seriously, just like you guys are trying to do with this podcast and other things you're trying to do, is just take it to another level and take it more seriously than just investing some money. That's right.
Yeah.
So we did do that, and we lost a lot of people. We put these group sessions out there. we were training people a lot of times one-on-one for a while at like a $10 an hour price, if you for some of the way we had the pricing set up, hoping to build it. And sometimes we weren't even making money on those sessions, but we did it for the right reasons. And I think ultimately that led us to where we are today. Now we have like 120 training sessions throughout the course of each week that group clients can choose from. We've got, I don't know how many private sessions going on a week, but a lot. And people are committed. And because they're committed, they're seeing the differences, they're seeing the successes. And we just have this crazy, awesome group of clients that are all in it for the right reasons. And so when you come to our facility, everybody's just on the same page. And so to your point, I think earlier, in people feeling uncomfortable, they do right up until basically they get there. And they might still have some self-confident, conscious stuff going on. But once they see the clients and see like, all right, that person's just like me, or hey, that person's not like me, but they're still trying to do the same thing. And once we get into the training session, everybody's just focused on themselves. And I think that's a big deal compared to maybe some of the other group styles where everybody's kind of doing the same thing at the same time. And you might feel a little uncomfortable because you can't keep up. Well, the way we set it up is that, and our trainers are very good at keeping people dialed in. So it takes that element out pretty quickly. It's cool.
So Mike, one thing I want to ask is, of course, you've kind of now adapted your business plans. So how have you changed now during COVID-19?
So we actually, my wife and I and our two children were in Costa Rica at the time that they shut things down.
Wow.
So we were kind of watching, and when we left, it wasn't, we left in February. We had planned this 5-week trip. So we left in February, and it was, there was a few people say at the airport wearing a mask, but I mean, it was, we knew it was in China and it was something, but it wasn't, and then 3 weeks later, we're like getting the last plane back to the United States out of Costa Rica. And we were in a pretty remote part of Costa Rica on the side of this mountain. It was pretty interesting. So we did that, and then we thought of some different ideas, and we ended up going live stream like most I think fitness facilities did, and we only lost I think 4 days of being in business as far as like having sessions for people to attend. So I think we closed on a Tuesday and we closed on a Wednesday and we were open on the next Tuesday with the virtual stuff.
Wow.
And I know,
so we were able to like, go ahead.
And your virtual stuff, right, is, I know you've done the quarantine boot camp has been something that, again, you're doing boot camps and now you've done more quarantine, which is more virtual at this point.
We are 90% virtual at this point. We just started some outdoor sessions, I think 3 weeks ago. So we've got some outdoor space, and it's nice to see the energy of people being together. Really appreciate, we've all been huddled up for quite a long time. So that's been nice. We're working on trying to get indoors, but we're being patient with the process. But yeah, we've got a quarantine kickstart program, I think is what you were referring to, which is a 1-month program. It's very intensive as far as we're here to support people. So you get like daily emails. There's a success session at the beginning where we meet with each person individually and find out what's going on. And we really, again, it's just going to set people up for success. So we give them all kinds of information to let them know what's going on, what the process is going to be like, and how you're going to feel. Like we've done the in-person Kickstart program for 7 or 8 years. So we know, we've had probably 1,000 or 2,000 people go through the program. So we really know what people are kind of going through as they do it, from the soreness from that first session of just feeling like I'll never make it to, all right, week 3, I'm like, wow, all right, I'm drinking water and I'm getting up and having a smoothie and, and we have this morning mojo, which is a combination of apple cider vinegar, ginger, and lemon juice. And they're like, oh, actually, I don't mind it. Where the first day it was like, what are you talking about? Like your faces kind of were like, seriously? Nah, what? So you kind of know the process and the evolution for people, and it really sets them up for success because, and they trust us, and our coaches are ridiculously good at what they do. And we work very hard as a team to make sure that continues to be the case.
And Mike, what I like about the thread that you've kind of given us so far is that it's not just, hey, here's personal training and I know it's a task and I'm kind of focusing on that, is that you're kind of taking, as you kind of started with that thread of, hey, as a coach, and I wanted to get into athletic coaching was something that you're interested in, taking that idea of coaching plus the aptitude you have in personal training, blending the two together so that you get to the heart of the motivation, figure out why they're doing it to push them to get the thing done. So
you said it, man.
Because it just feels like when because I have the next question staged here, and like, well, you already answered it. So, but like, what's the difference between a gym business, like the retail monthly business, where I think 12% of the people that sign up actually go because it's so cheap that they can feel like they've committed financially, but not personally. Right. You have other gyms where they're just going to do their own thing and lift weights and probably maybe hurt themselves or maybe not get the results that they want. Yeah. And then it feels like you have kind of done this, like now it's intensive, which is, I think from our end, Abby and Curtis, when we work with our clients is doing financial planning, but then the coaching of like, what does money mean to you? Why do you want to do this? What do you want to achieve with it? And then pushing them forward to make sure that, you're holding them accountable to their goals, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in our coaching, and that's something that I think I had to work really hard. I think for myself. I was a personal trainer. I had that title for a very long time, and then I started like moving towards the coach aspect and trying to research and fine tune all those things that I needed to not necessarily learn. I think I was doing them, but I had to figure out how to articulate it to train some other trainers and also provide information to clients on how we are different. It took me a long time to like get that out of myself, but now when I like listen to other coaches and read coaching books, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Okay, I get it now. And that's when it really started melding together. Like you need the personal training side, which I consider like the anatomy, physiology. You got to know how to put a great workout together. You've got to be able to keep people safe and know, what their joints are doing all the time and all that stuff. You got to know that stuff, but that's not why people show up. That's never why people show up. You might have 1% of the people that really care about that stuff. And honestly, those are fun people to train because you can get them to do just about anything. From an athletic standpoint and being an athlete, it's nice to test, but really, the fun of it all is being a great coach and getting through to people and seeing them grow, seeing them build their confidence, listening to their stories of, what we'll probably talk about in a little bit is playing with their kids or going on mission trips or, hey, I went surfing, I'm golfing and my buddies can't keep up. Thank you. I'm making some money. So it's just that, it's the personal aspect. The difference is, what you invest in taking the time to be personable and to learn people and to believe in them more than they believe in themselves. That's one thing that we really talk about as a team is, what's your standard for that person? And it should be a little bit higher than their standard. You got to believe in them and you got to know, even if you might not believe 100%, you got to pretend you do to a point, right? As long as they're safe. So it's really, I think that's the big thing why people continue to come back to our facility and enjoy it, is that we work very hard to create that kind of environment.
Well, and I think once you articulate that and like then you really are focusing on this is how I do things and this is the service I'm providing and the difference I'm making, which I'm sure you get in feedback, but we've seen it with our firm too is, you attract somebody that you thought would be a good hire because maybe from a skill perspective they're there, but they might not align to, what you're articulating is you have to have a level of care. Like I have to really care about each person that's walking through this door, really get to know them, and you can't fake it. If it's disingenuous, everybody knows that. And it's just that just is once you kind of get everybody motivated, boy, then you start getting on fire. And that's what I'm seeing from an external party, Mike, on your businesses. You're starting to see, hey, people getting excited about that because of the fire that you guys bring to it. So it's great.
Yeah, and it's a lot of what getting people to do things that they didn't think they could do, and then they're doing them after just a few weeks. They're kind of like, well, geez, I wish I hadn't waited so long. But there's a big thought process out there when it comes to fitness that it's like go all out, go all, all in, all out. There's like no middle ground. It's like, well, you don't, you can work out 3 times a week doing the right stuff and eating well and drinking some water, and you can live a really nice, healthy, able lifestyle.
Yep.
You don't have to be there 5 days a week, 2 hours as training session, eating steamed vegetables and not enjoying yourself ever. You don't have to do that to accomplish some of this stuff. And I think it's a tough sell to get people to understand that. It seems too simple. I don't know what it is, but our 5 habits for massive impact are eating breakfast, eating whole foods as best you can, drinking tons of water, and then eating consistently throughout the day. And then the 5th one is attend your training sessions. So we're a personal training business and we have 5 habits. One of them is exercise. The other 4 are some simple, basic things. And I think people kind of look at it. Yeah, well, okay. They want that, grams and getting real granular with it, but it's just an overwhelming thing to do to your lifestyle. And it stresses people out. And that's why I think there's like this, I'm doing great. And then there's just like, oh God,
right.
now I gotta get back. So, we're trying to, convince people that there's a middle road to it all and it can work.
So with that, I'd like to segue you, Mike, here is really kind of getting into, right, is that health in retirement is the theme of the show, right? So I want to start you off with a scenario, right? Is here's somebody that's they're a desk worker their whole life, right? They've binged on the career. They've raised the kids. They prioritize their family, probably then the career, then ventures, and maybe health is like way down that avenue. And they're saying to themselves, hey, I'm getting closer to retirement, or maybe I'm in retirement and I can see all those fun things I want to do, but I'm scared that I'm not being my healthiest. So if I'm not my healthiest, maybe I don't live a long retirement. Maybe I'm around for another 8 to 12 years. So when someone walks through the door at Wilcox Wellness and Fitness, I would imagine many people are feeling those insecurities and they're questioning their fitness levels, their body image. And so when they walk through that door, I know you mentioned a little bit of kind of the orientation process. Sure. Can you talk about how do they overcome those insecurities to not only come in the first time, but then they come back?
Right. We have an onboarding process that's fairly thorough. And what that does is slowly start to build people's confidence. And it also gets them to start switching their mindset, which is kind of what you're talking about, is kind of getting over that. And you got to switch your mindset. And so, they see us on Facebook and different social medias, or they get emails. And so they can kind of see our approach prior to coming in. And so we have a call that we start people off with to learn a little bit more about them and tell them about our process. So they're getting all this information before they have to walk into the gym. Then we set them up with a consultation. That's an hour-long meeting. Again, going in deeper to like why, and this is a very hard thing. And you probably guys have the same challenges in that when you get them in there, you're hoping that they're just going to tell you all this great information about why they want to train and why they want to take care of themselves. And they're just like, I don't know. And so we spend some time prying a little bit and getting down to the things. And, the things are typically they want to travel. Typically they want to, have energy for their kids or their grandkids. And then do some hobbies that they're, really interested in, or maybe things they did prior to their career, prior to their families, and get back into some of those hobbies that really fill them up with joy and passion. But it takes a lot to get that why out of them, because they've been so in it for so long, right? It's like, oh, now I got to think about me. That's just weird. I can't do that right now. So we have that process, and it starts to get people switching their mindset to like the real reason. It's not, you're going to lose some fat, hopefully build some muscle and be strong, and you're going to, look better in a bathing suit or something like that. Those are going to be some great things. And we hear those things quite often as the first answers. I want to lose fat. I'd like to lose 10 to 15 pounds. And we say, okay, that's great. Those are byproducts to your healthy lifestyle that, you're going to like, but it's the energy levels, the confidence of walking into a room, showing up in a meeting and just feeling like you're on fire and not being self-conscious and all that stuff that we try to dig into. And so, I think that really gets people's minds turning to the right reasons. I say right, whatever, right's different for different people, but the real reasons to live a great life, especially as you're getting older, to find joy in what's going on after your career has ended and your family's gone. The real reasons. And so they start to think about that. And so when they show up to their sessions, totally showing up different than they did before that conversation or before the first two conversations. They're like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to my trainer, do what they ask. I'm just going to show up and do my best, and I'm not going to worry about it because I'm doing it for me, and I'm doing it for my family, and I'm doing it for whatever reason.
And Mike, I'd say in terms of the coaching part, and this is what we found, is it's the Simon Sinek, The Power of Why, right? It's not just, hey, well, I want to lose 10 or 15 pounds, or I want to look good in a bathing suit or whatever. Yeah. It's sometimes when you start asking the second and third question, there's like, okay, well, talk to me about when you go to that beach, who are you going with? Right. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you playing beach volleyball? Are you just laying on the beach? Are you, who's going to be there? Is it your family? And are you maybe embarrassed because you're in your bathing suit, you're embarrassed of yourself in front of your family? And what are you trying to achieve, and why are you trying to achieve it? And it seems like every time we ask those questions and you go further and further and further, and they just open up, right? And they just, that just pours out. And now we know. Now we get to the heart of it. But yeah, it takes a while. Sometimes it's a few sessions to kind of get to it because they don't trust you, right?
And sometimes it's months and months before really we get to make that connection with the client. And it could be years sometimes. And then all of a sudden they're like, the connection's made and the relationship's just like through the roof. But very, very tough.
Yep.
Very tough.
Great.
There are different phases of retirement, right? So our late career, we're preparing for retirement, early retirement, maybe you're young and traveling, and then late retirement. So are you seeing people at your wellness center at different phases? And if so, what's motivating them in each phase to continue, with their health journey?
Yeah, we have people across the board, from finishing up their career to just starting and being kind of confused, and then some who have been at it for a little while and kind of have settled in. And so, as I think you're finishing up your career, there's that pressure to find out what the heck am I going to do, and where am I going to be at, and what am I going to be capable of. So it's encouraging to see that people are doing that before they actually retire. Right? They're trying to figure out how they can get it into their work schedule. To make it happen so that when they do retire, they're really well prepared. And I think that's a huge motivator. I mean, just that alone, knowing that, hey, 60, 65, whatever it may be is coming. And I don't want to just be a bump on the log, feeling like I can't do anything because I'm just not physically capable. So I think that, that's the biggest motivator there. If you just retired and you're just getting started, I think that's a tough one because people aren't necessarily in a great place at that moment if they don't really know, what they're going to do, and they're feeling those, those deep feelings of, say, scarcity or, scared that they're not going to be able to do this stuff. And I think the key to anybody on the fence inside that area is to hire a coach. Find a coach. If you don't find the right one, try again. Because those are the people that are going to get you where you want to go. And if you try to kind of wing it on your own, it's a much more difficult, longer process. So what motivates those people, I think, is getting to the point of where they can do it. And I think family is a big thing at that point. To be honest with you, I think it's grandkids. I'm retired. I've got this time. I just found out that I can't walk around the block 3 times with my grandkid, and I am pissed.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, like one of their biggest things that scared them was they couldn't get out of the bathtub. Wow. A 60, 65-year-old person was like, what? The reason I'm here is because I struggled incredibly to get out of my bathtub the other day. It's like, holy crap!
That's powerful.
You don't think about you don't think about that, but it is that for a lot of people, and they're not going to come out and tell anybody. They're not going to, tell their friends, their spouse, they're not going to tell anybody that. But so I think that can kind of go in towards people who are longer into retirement too. It's just the daily chores. They don't want to be exhausted just going out to, put the trash out and come back in and be out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
So to prolong the ability to do the normal things as well as some fun things to make those, last 10, 15 years exciting. And so I don't know if that totally answered the question, but there's definitely those three things, and I think they are all kind of looking at it slightly different. But
so, Mike,
you're family and activity.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So you just covered, a lot of motivation for your clients. Can you talk about for a minute how, once you get them to come to you and, you open up, you start working towards those goals, how do you kind of measure that success with them? How do you help them through that process?
We do a lot of connection via email, via Facebook, Instagram stuff, and support. We have monthly guides. So we're consistently giving out kind of content advice, mindset stuff, and connecting that way. So we get emails back, people struggling. We can really, the only way to know is to have someone reach out and tell you, because we're not having necessarily follow-up meetings with everybody. We've kind of created this system where it's kind of a lifestyle for good. And most of our clients have been with us 2 to 3 plus years, which is pretty cool to see. And so there's a relationship where they're not, hey, I'm struggling. And usually it starts, with their trainer that they work with most. Our group training program is pretty large, and we have 3 trainers plus myself. So they work with the 3 trainers mostly, but there's not a ton of like interaction that you would have in a one-on-one situation.
Gotcha.
So we work hard inside of those training sessions to kind of figure it out, but a lot of it's online, with phone calls when people need it. But I think just in the, and it may not sound real, but just in the weekly habit of showing up to your training sessions keeps you motivated. And then when you miss a week and you come back, you're like, I don't want to do that ever again because it doesn't feel good. And so these people that have struggled up and down, I'm good for 2 months and then I'm bad for 6 and I'm good for 3 months, I'm bad for 4. They don't do that anymore because they found something that's consistent and it's always good. And they miss it when they're gone. So I think that motivated them. And then the community of clients, they're meeting lots of people like them. They're and it's cool for me to see like, say a 20-something-year-old who's a former athlete going out and working right next to the 75-year-old retiree, and they're doing the same exercise at different levels, of course, but they're side by side, man, working out. We got it across the board every day. It's really neat.
That's awesome.
Very cool. What are some myths that you see about retirees and pre-retirees working with you?
I think it's just that they don't think they can do it is one. Like there's just not enough confidence inside of them. Like it's too late. It's too late. My knee hurts. My left foot hurts. My shoulder hurts, and I got this thing in my neck. And so they're just like, it's just a part of life. I'm old, and I'm just gonna get older. So I think that's a huge barrier, is to have all of these things be an issue. And you're like, I don't even know where to start. And that's where a coach can help so much. I mean, if you have a good coach that can teach you how to just work on your posture, how to use your feet correctly. So, just I'm teaching people how to re-walk. Like we sit so much that most people need to relearn how to walk properly because they've got, say tight hip flexors and then you got, glute muscles that don't work properly. And then these guys just, right, if you're on a hunched over all the time, you can imagine these don't work anymore. Right? So then you get back issues and you actually get, shoulder issues. That's where the neck is, there's a lot to that. So if you can have some, you can fix that, for depending on, how severe kind of the postural thing is, the longer it may take. But for most people, I promise you, if you have someone who holds you accountable to great posture and using your muscles the way you're supposed to, you can fix a lot of things in a very short amount of time. And I think most people think it's just too far beyond. Another myth is that trainers won't listen to them. Trainers won't meet them where they're at. Trainers, have this maybe mindset of all in, I'll go all out. You can do more, got to get all the reps, or you're going to make it till the time is finished. And we're totally the opposite of that. And I think that's, helps people say, all right, if I'm going to do 5 reps, those guys can do 10 and those guys over there can do 15, but no one really seems to care. So I'm just going to do what's right for me. And we preach it like, heck, do what's right with you. You've got to take breaks. Hey, your form's slipping a little bit. Just stop for a second. Hey, you got to do these 8s instead of these 12s. We hold people accountable to that, and then they don't end up injured or, more uncomfortable than when they started. So there's definitely, I think, a trust in the fitness industry from, the older generation that's like, I don't know if I want this 20-something or 30-something person who's super fit to be, getting after me. But
well, and Mike,
again,
it's almost,
go ahead.
You almost see that with, again, with sometimes popular television might not be reflective of real life. Like, I jokingly put that out about Jillian Michaels, but you say, man, here's somebody yelling right at these people and really berating them and, borderline, whether it's rude or not. And, that whether that's that's obviously her and her style, but that can be taken as, well, this is the way personal training is, and this is how it's going to go. If I step through those doors, I have the Jillian Michaels that's just going to start yelling at me and telling me how terrible I am and that I need to do 40 more reps, otherwise I'm useless, right?
Yeah. And, I used to watch that show and I have a feeling that, she couldn't have gotten as successful as she did without being a great coach. Right. And so, I do believe a lot of that was for show, or all of it was for show. But yeah, I think it totally took on this crazy, put this crazy message out there that trainers are crazy. Trainers are crazy. But yeah, it's just not the case. I know so many trainers in this area alone who are just so passionate about people I used to work with, people I know, who just want to help other people. And they do it in different ways, and it's all phenomenal. So if you're not getting out there and finding the person or the group of people that's right for you, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there's just great people. It's shifted. It's not trainers being crazy. It's shifted, I think I would say, in the last 10 years, from what I even used to do. I used to, it was all about personal training for me, sets and reps and, this bicep exercise and that tricep exercise. And it wasn't about posture. And, we talked about using your abs, but not in the correct ways that really, people need to be doing, almost to like a physical therapy type of, hey, this is how you guys should be doing this for the betterment of your joints. And so, trainers are getting that, and they're teaching it. And I've been in some virtual seminars recently, and even the people that are higher up, if you will, that are leading some of these presentations are preaching it like crazy, training the fascial system, which is basically a web of tissue that is in your entire body that gets really knotted up and tightened up. And that's why people have most issues, is because they have tight tissue. Anyways, those are the things that people are talking about now, and it's going to start trickling down even more. So if you're retired or almost there, find a coach, because if they just have you going, find a new coach. If they're talking to you and saying take breaks,
because I'd say too is like, well, again, everybody's got a kind of a different theory in how they work, and some people just relate better to different people too. And I'm sure even within your business as well, is there's going to be some trainers that are going to relate better to other people than others, and that's with us too, is kind of us and our thing. But one thing I want to talk to you about, Mike, is a goal we hear from our clients a lot, and this is almost across the board, is they want to live independently as long as possible. Right. So, because they're scared of, I'm going to go to assisted living the moment I have a fall, I break a hip, whatever, and that's it. I'm out of my house and I'm now into a place that I don't want to be. So there's this, it's a resistance towards aging. It's a resistance towards kind of getting to that end stage of, I'm getting into assisted living, nursing home facility. So there's there's a lot of physical limitations, and the idea of, hey, I might have had surgery, I have a disability, I have weak shoulder, I've broken a hip. Again, too late for me, right? So can you talk about what has led people to conclude this too late? But I want to hear how you address it, right? Is because it's that person that's in that bathtub saying, I couldn't get out and I'm embarrassed, but I'm also more thinking about, hey, if this continues, I'm going to be in that assisted living facility.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to start where you're at. And a lot of people, I think, are embarrassed about where they're at. And so they don't dare to start. They don't dare to start there. So that's how, we start there. Wherever someone is, we need to address the foundational issue. So if someone can't push through their feet and their knees are always wobbly, we've got to fix that before we kind of move up the chain. So you're talking about, I think one of the biggest things for older people is the balance issue and falling, right? Petrified of falling. And for a good reason. It's not something you want to be doing. And so we have some people who do that, and we teach them how to, their left leg goes forward, they move their right arm. Their right leg goes forward, they move their left arm. And you're reteaching some of those things, and you're teaching them to push down into their feet and push down into their toes. It's kind of some little nuanced feedback we have for them, but those are the things that keep you from falling. If you don't know how to push through one side of your foot, when you get to that side of your foot, that's when you fall, because you don't know how to do it. And then two other things that we work on with everybody across the board, but in particular people who are older or have postural issues, is how to utilize your abdominals or the core, right? Your core should be a lot of things, but most people think of it as their abdominals. And you use your obliques that are right under your rib cage when you walk every day, when you do anything, when you reach, when you're going to move your mic, whatever. You're actually using those things if you have great posture. If you're not, you're using some other things that are leading to your injury and kind of your degeneration. So we teach those things, and you wouldn't believe how many times you'll hear posture inside of a training session in our facility, because you just have to have it. And it's not something that's drilled into all of us, right? We're all probably sitting with not the best posture we've ever had in our life right now. Right? All right.
Keep checking me here.
And it's kind of nature, and gravity does that to us. And so it's a habit. Same thing. We'll have to say it until we're blue in the face, reminding people of posture, because as soon as you get out of that nice stacked position, if you will, and you're no longer using this, you're causing stress everywhere else. And so for the older generation, push through your feet, learn how to brace like someone was going to just give you a little bit of a shot as you're doing things. I think that's a challenge for people. And then always check in on your posture, and it's easy for me to sit here and say that when someone might be like this, work on your posture. Well, I'm stuck here. Well, you've got to continue to make it a priority, because if you don't, it's only going to get worse. And it can be changed. It can be changed. We do a lot of self-myofascial release, which is just self-massage therapy with different types of tools like a foam roller or a lacrosse ball. There's many other tools you can use, but that plays a significant role in helping with people who have, large postural issues. But feet, abdominals, and posture. People can do it. We can do it.
So Mike, I want to keep going with retirees here. Just kind of generally speaking, retirees tend to have more financial assets at their disposal than younger people. And that may lead them to make a decision like to stop working or to retire. And then they struggle with that next step. And, we work a lot with our clients on that piece. But could you share maybe a couple examples or stories you had of people who've kind of rediscovered their life purpose, with your programs?
Sure. Yeah. One woman that comes to mind who is constantly kind of thanking us for, providing a place for her to stay strong, because she does a lot of mission trips. She's retired. She's been retired for 4 or 5 years, I believe. And so she goes for a month or two at a time, and she's, she'll tell us a story of how she just can lift up her suitcase and get onto the bus. or, you know, go on these hikes into these remote kind of places and do it with confidence. And, you know, she's not like super fit, you know, by any means, but she takes good care of herself. She works on her posture. That helps to help you carry things. I'm going to keep saying that, see if it may, you know, drive home for anybody who might be listening. But I think that's a really cool thing to do, is obviously travel, but to also participate in helping others. And it's exciting for me to hear those stories and hear how it's easier for her to enjoy the process. You know, some of these places 100 degrees, and, you know, there's lots of different parameters there that would make it challenging for us. So to be 65, 70 years old and still doing that, come on, that's outrageous. You know? I think, and then on the flip side, you know, some golfers, I guess, some older guys who kind of meet with their buddies. I kind of hit on that, I think, earlier. It's just, you know, the competition thing of playing against your buddies, and, you know, like you said, there's a little financial. They've got some more means to maybe wager, or some friendly betting going on, and so, you know, to be able to keep the mobility to swing a golf club or whatever the competition may be, but usually it's golfing. To do that and not be laid up. I mean, a lot of people, you know, who golf have back injuries or shoulder injuries because they're just not pliable enough to be going out there and smacking that ball at you know, when you whip through, you're asking your body to do a ton. So if you're tight in different areas, you're going to end up injured. You know, usually it's men, so they're pretty funny about it, you know. I'm out there kicking my friends, you know what. They're thankful in their own way, but we've got a lot of also, I guess, women golfers who just like to enjoy being out there with their friends, you know, and able to walk the course with their friends and feel great about it, and not feel like, oh God, I got to go play golf with my friends. This is gonna suck. I'm never gonna make it. Now they can play not only 9 holes, but potentially play 18 holes, or some people are playing 9 in the morning and 9 in the afternoon. Come on, man. That's great.
That's awesome. So we've talked Oh no, go ahead.
No, that's it. That was it.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about why people continue to come back to see you, but on the flip side, why do people stop coming back? And if they do stop, how can you get them remotivated to come back and see you guys?
Yeah, I'd like to think that we don't do anything wrong, but, you know, it could just be that we're not the right fit for them. You know, some people don't necessarily enjoy all the coaching. It can be overwhelming. You know, it's both positive and constructive feedback. We're not always like, hey, better posture. Hey, get your foot. Hey, your knee. You know, it's, oh, no, you're doing that right. I think you're ready for the next phase or next weight. So there's just a lot of feedback when it comes to personal training and coaching that some people just aren't used to. I think that might be one reason that people are like, well, I'm not comfortable, you know, it makes me feel like I'm in the spotlight or I'm getting picked on. There's some things there that we try to meander around if we can kind of judge that early on. But I think that might be one thing about personal training that can be tough, why people kind of like, I might just go do it on my own. I just want to kind of show up and, you know, do my elliptical and call it a day. But on the other side of things, you know, I think life is very, very stressful. You know, things come up, things happen. There might not be support at home. You know, I just think there's so many things in life that can just derail you from something that seems kind of optional. Especially if there's a financial piece, like personal training's not inexpensive. It's something that you could say, hey, I should save this money and I should get motivated on my own. And then typically they don't get motivated on their own, right? But I do think that, you know, life just can get in the way. Like, you know, your kid crashed the car, or I'm trying to think of some silly, you know, not silly, but real things that do happen that can just say, hey, you know what, my finances are not what they were a month ago, or my parents get sick. A lot of our clients are in that 40 to 60 range where parents are sick. I got to take care of them, or I got to travel a lot to go take care of them. So in general, I think it's more life things than it is like I don't want to exercise inside of our facility anyways. I think most people, you know, we've got a great process for getting the right clients through the door that take it seriously and want to do it for the well-being of themselves and their family. So it's usually not like I don't want to work out, I don't like it. Well, there's some people still show up and don't like it, but I still have to check in with people so often because they tell me in their consultation, like, I don't like exercise and I never will. And I'll keep reminding you of that. So every like 6 months, I'm like, still not? And they're like, no, still not liking it.
That's great.
It's pretty funny. But I think life's crazy, man. Schedules are nuts. Schedules are nuts. And I'm sure, it's kind of weird right now with COVID and everybody being at home. So you're not running all over the place to do stuff. And if you got kids, they've got to go there and there. And so I just think it's phenomenal that people have been able to utilize our program to get their training sessions done throughout their work week instead of like after work or before work. I mean, we have a lot of people that do that, but we're cramming hundreds of people into these sessions from 7 to 4 in the afternoon. Like
That's
people
awesome.
are, and they approach their boss about it. Hey, I'd really like to do this. And of course their boss is like, well, we'll make it work because they know the benefit.
Right.
They
Sure.
know what's going to happen inside of that. And, we've got some bosses paying for their employees to come because they see how good it is for them. Not a lot of that, but you know what I mean? So it's, I think just life is stressful. So things pop up and then we usually see people return
So
after
Mike,
a few months of whatever
yeah.
derailed them.
And I want to add another kind of concern that we hear from our clients is there's a lot of concern and it's especially with couples walking through the doors is they're concerned about losing each other, right? Is that the husband is scared about losing the wife losing the spouse or whatever the spousal arrangement is. And I think sometimes we see that there's a fear that, one of them is healthier than the other. Right. And they've just had different priorities in terms of their own health. But, if you were to say, hey, here's this situation and somebody wanted to have that conversation about their partner's health, because again, their goal is together. We want to live as long and healthy and happily as we can together in retirement. And I don't want to lose you. And then I have to do this by myself. How should somebody approach that, or how have you guys approached that if you've seen that situation without being hurtful, without being kind of judgmental towards that?
Yeah, and we see that across the board as far as we call it, I think, more like support at home, and it is a big challenge. Like you said, not everybody's on the same page, and the majority of people are definitely not on the same page, right? And at the end of the day, I just think it's got to come down to being honest, right? And having honest conversations with your spouse or significant other or whomever that you want to be a part of this healthy lifestyle. Like, it doesn't always have to be your spouse. Could be a friend. Could be,
That's right.
Somebody that you want there with you. Is just to be 100% honest. Hey, I really don't feel good about myself. I know I should be doing these things, and I just can't, I can't do it by myself. And so I'm looking at you for support. I mean, you don't have to, necessarily do everything I do, but, when I do things, I just really love it that you've supported me through it. I think sometimes people might ridicule people for being healthy. Oh, you're going to do that. Oh, why do you do that to yourself? You hear that a lot, right? And I can remember, some clients talking about just like visiting family and how stressful it is. Because you don't want to get derailed going on a week-long vacation. And so, you bring some healthy stuff and you want to eat some vegetables, God forbid. And their family is just busting them like, why do you torture yourself like that? And when it's really the flip side, right?
That's right.
Flip it over and you're actually doing the torturing, but there's this thing out there. So at the end of the day, I just think honesty is always going to win, even if it doesn't win the first time or the 10th time. I think you just got to be true to yourself and know what you want to do. And, hopefully whomever you're chatting with is eventually going to come on board to support you because they love you and they want to see you doing well. I don't think there's any tricks to, getting somebody on board.
Like, I think from
Hard.
our side, it's always starting with why again, right? Is this, well,
Yeah.
it's saying, well, hey, I have this fear and this is why I have the fear, because I'm going out 30
Yeah.
years and my goal personally is I want us to both be here. And my concern is today, and here's what I
Right.
see, right? Is
Yeah.
to kind of get them there so we're both having the same motivation. Because it feels like if I just
Yeah.
kind of say, hey, I'm kind of concerned about your health right now, it just feels like you're picking on them.
Yes.
Right. So
Exactly right. Yeah. It doesn't sound, and it's probably very, very hard to have to say to somebody is, hey, listen. And so, yeah, to be honest, like you just said, hey, 30 years from now, I want to be like, out playing in the world.
yes.
And, right now, I mean, I don't, it could be like, I don't feel like I'm all there yet. And I don't know how you feel about yourself. But I think the two of us could probably work on it together, or, sounds easy to say it right now, but that's a really tough conversation to have, and most people are going to be very defensive. So I meander as make it like a long-term kind of goal of getting somebody on board. So you kind of just like trickle some things very gently, very nicely, until they start almost making it their plan. I think I like to do that sometimes with like
a little inception going on.
Like when you like when you're questioning people, like, hey, no, oh yeah, that is a good idea. I'm glad you came up with that. We should get healthier. But there's no easy way to say, hey, like, listen, you're unhealthy. You're eating all this chocolate, and sweets, and I see you stuffing your face with chips and fast food, whatever. Like, you can't say that to somebody. Like, they're just gonna be like, screw you, man.
That's right. That's right.
You're damn right I am. Love it. So gentle and honest, and if it doesn't work the first time, just keep trying. Honesty will win.
Yeah. So Mike, personally, my favorite part of every show, and I think Ben and Abby agree with me, so we like to wrap up our episodes with all our guests.
Okay.
So we're sitting here on the Retirement Success in Maine podcast. I want you to do a little forward thinking here towards your eventual retirement. We're putting you on the spot. So what is
so you made me do a dance.
What do you see a successful retirement being for yourself? And
I will be planning to travel a lot. Certainly being active as I do that. Spending lots and lots of time with my family. So it'll be family and travel, I think, will be the biggest thing. And trying to set myself up health-wise and financially wise to have the freedom to basically do what I would like. And I think that's most people focus on the finance piece to have that type of freedom, but really you can have all the finance in the world, but it doesn't mean you get to participate in anything. Or participate at the level you really wish you could. So certainly on the health side is a big priority, to make sure that I stay on top of that, between annual physicals, lots of blood work, just to make sure that I don't get derailed for anything. And just being consistent with those little habits, and that'll get you to that, I think, spot where you're just able to do whatever you'd like to do. It seems simple, but I can see it now.
well, Mike, I want to just say thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate the time you lent with us today. Awesome. I know from lots of perspective, just having the conversation about what does it mean to be healthy? And what I like about what you kind of covered with us today is it can just be very simple things. And just like, as you said, of just kind of helping with walking or helping with balance. Because again, the biggest issue, we had John Deal from the Hartford Funds, who works with MIT Age Lab. He said the biggest issue in retirement on health is fall. And is people falling. So even what you just said there of, hey, I had nowhere to go. Now I have somewhere to go. So stuff like that. It's not just, hey, I'm lifting all these weights and I got to do all this, and it's breaking these barriers and these myths. So you did a great job on that today, and appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast, and it was so great to cover all these topics, and it's getting my mind going too. So it's awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. We'll see you next time. So we really appreciate Mike coming on the show today. Mike and his wife Paige, I from a kind of business perspective and seeing them at chamber events and all that stuff, you start to get a feel for their business model. And we've been looking at that and saying, man, well, here's somebody doing something kind of similar to what we are, right? As there's a similar track, how they work with people, how they work with their clients, and also that they're kind of getting their clients to be these ambassadors, right? Is that they go, hey, I feel like there's a transformation. I feel like there's change. I feel like I'm better because of my interactions here. It's not just, well, I went to the gym, I worked out a little bit, and it wasn't transactional, right? It was transformational. And that's where you can see, well, why did they win the Foster Award for Entrepreneurship from the chamber? Well, that's why, right? It's a business making a difference, and I love that as a thread here. So with, again, we talking about, we always kind of our angle is the wealth side, and Mike is talking about the health side. So we always like to wrap up our episodes with what lesson did we learn? So I'll have Curtis start things off today. Curtis, what did you learn from Mike in today's episode?
Yeah, I'll start by just, learning more about the business they operate. I'd always heard of them in the community, here in Bangor, or in the Bangor area, but just hearing how they operate, and like you said, Ben, how parallel it is to kind of us and what we try to do sort of with that experience with the clients. I thought that was really cool. A piece that stuck out to me, and I know we joked about it a lot, but in my mind, I think of it as the sort of little things like the posture and stuff like that. Just kind of how individual he really makes it. And, he talked about how he has clients who they're so happy that they can still walk 18 holes of golf when they're retired, and they're playing with their buddies, and their buddies can't keep up. So just kind of that piece. And then it's so individual in the sense that, it's not all about do the max reps, lift as much weight as you can. It's really structured from that foundation of just personal wellness, not necessarily how strong you are. So that was really cool to hear.
And I know I'll steal from a previous episode and what John Deal was saying with MIT Age Lab, and what you just touched on was two things that John brought up from MIT was, who's going to change my light bulb?
Yeah.
So, the little things of, hey, if I'm able to actually change the light bulb myself and safely, right? So that's one thing. Two is, who am I going to enjoy the ice cream cone with? So what you said on the golf side was kind of the social, that by being healthier allows me to stay more social and not be isolated. So it kind of, those are two important threads I think that Mike was touching on, that he's helping people with, and the problem being of, again, in retirement, I'm trying to solve these things. So I think those are really important. Abby, from your end, what did you kind of see from today's show?
What I really liked about what he said was keeping it simple, you can still achieve the results that you want, right? So a lot of times I feel like fitness is over complicated, right? So you're counting your macros and your micros, and you're doing this amount of lifting and this amount of cardio, and just being a little more simple and strategic with what you're doing, you can still achieve the results that you want. And I think in our busy lives, that is a really good message, that it's not unattainable. It's not this crazy complicated thing, that it is achievable and attainable for everyone to do.
Yeah.
And he's doing the start where you are, right? So if he's saying, hey, you just had an ankle surgery and your balance is a little off,
right?
Versus saying, well, now I got to go have you lift and do the rope work, and I got to do all this stuff, but your ankle's going to have a problem, and then you accentuate issues. So I like what he was saying is, hey, maybe it's just, hey, you tried this thing once, but we got to focus in on you and what you're trying to work on, what your goals are. Really cool. Kind of a nice little slant to it. For me, I like what he was kind of saying was, hey, a lot of things that they're doing, and he might not have overtly expressed it, but it seems like a lot of what we see with our clients is this idea of living independently as long as possible.
Sure.
So this whole of health for people coming in the door does not mean, yes, they might have a little more muscle or a little less fat, or maybe they're not. As he said, he had somebody that was hiking, and he goes, you wouldn't describe her as being the most fit person at all, but she's healthier.
Right.
in the fact that, hey, when I'm getting older and I'm able to have good posture and I'm able to get in and out of the chair correctly, I'm able to get in and out of the bathtub or the shower correctly, that I'm not hurting myself doing simple chores. And because I have a level of strength and balance and posture and all those things that are necessary, I'm able to continue being in my home as long as possible and enjoying where I want to be. So I think that's a really key theme and a goal that a lot of people have. And he kind of talked about basically how they go about doing it. So again, really, really kind of great to hear where he's going. As not like, well, the drill sergeant's going to yell at you and tell you that you're doing everything wrong and you're terrible and you're insufficient. It's, there's some of that in terms of motivating, but it's really on, hey, this is what we need you to get done. This is where you are. Let's improve here. So that was really great. I want to point to people too, of course, that we are at episode number 22. So more resources. I'll connect with Mike here and get some more resources. And I know he's got several things in terms of workbooks, and again, he's got some Kickstart programs that are out there. So we'll try to get some more information for you about there. And so you go to blog.guidancepointllc.com/22 is the website. So you can see that when this launches. We always like to, if you would like to reach out to us and give us feedback, love to hear that. You can email us. Again, you go to guidancepointllc.com and go to the About Us page. You can get our contact info there, phone number, email. Love to hear from you. For those that have stayed, and throughout this whole episode, all throughout, we just let us know if you got some feedback. Love to hear from it, but just let us know that you reached it. We might have a little something special for you in terms of a little gift. So reach out to us again. Email myself or Curtis or Abby here, and we'll send something your way for making it all the way to the end on this health episode. So until next time, we'll see you later.